G'day folks, welcome to another edition of Talking SANFL. My name is Andrew Hayes. Of course, this is the great Daniel Menzel, and let's get straight into it. A bit of a round 12 recap, men's. We'll start with our iPerform insights, some interesting results on the weekend, and let's start with your mob against Port Adelaide.
Yeah, really interesting results. We thought back at home would be a great opportunity for the Eagles, but Port was far too strong. Probably the 36-point margin flattered the scoreboard a little bit. They were very impressive with a lot of AFL players out and playing AFL footy or injured, so they'll be very pleased with that. They're playing some great footy.
I did find it interesting as well to see the conditions were just atrocious.
Oh, it's got to that time of year. Here at Woodville, it's not great conditions, but that's where we're at the moment in winter.
And thinking of a youngster by the name of Dante Visentini, who the week before gets his AFL over at the FCG and comes back where he's playing in almost, it looked like knee-deep mud. So saw a little bit of chalk and cheese there. Next game was North Adelaide v South Adelaide. Again, this was a really sloppy contest and the Roosters got the job done.
Yeah, they did. A couple of important wins for the Roosters. They've knocked off Adelaide and now South Adelaide. So it looks like they are back. They're getting some players back, so it's making a big difference for them.
I think for the next game, we were sitting there going, well, this could be an absolute story of the round if Nord could knock off the almighty Bayside. But they just showed their class and key players stood up when it mattered most.
They did, and Norwood were in the game. They were only 2 goals down at three-quarter time, so their form stacks up. They are in some really good form, but there's no form like Glenelg's form at the moment in the competition. A 5-goal win, and they're going so well.
Really close game this one was as well. The Double Blues taking on the Bloods. 6 points was the difference in the end. Sturt just got the job done. Geez, West Adelaide are getting really close to knocking off a very good side.
They are, and they're in games, but they're just not able to put it over the line. And that shows a young group as well, and that's certainly what they've got. But they're competitive, which is great to see.
Last game of the round was the Crows taking on Centrals. This was out in New York, but this was the only game that really blew out. The Crows too much class.
Way too much class. They're playing some very good footy at the moment, and their match-up this week, which we'll preview shortly, is incredible. But yeah, look, Central still haven't won away from Ex-Convenience Oval, and we're blown out in this game, and the Crows are looking really good.
All right, let's go into our sample summary brought to you by Rejuvenate Massage and Fitness. And we'll start with our moment of the week, and that is someone who's won the Ken Farmer medal, I think 3 times. That is Liam McBean. He's an absolute star of the competition. This competition is lucky to have him. And all of a sudden, Liam McBean is chasing down his teammate Lockie Hosey for the Ken Farmer medal.
He absolutely is. You can see it in these highlights here. A couple of nice goals, one out the ruck. He is firing. They are firing. Even Luke Reynolds is going under the radar at the moment. He's 4th in the goal kicking as well. So it is a team that is in such good form, and it's nice to have so many options and avenues to goal.
So Liam McBean leads the best team in the competition. That is the Bays, number 1, followed by Sturt, the Crows. Port Adelaide sits 4th at the moment, and North Adelaide rounds out the top 5. Talking point of the week, is that the top 5 that's set for the rest of the year, do you think?
What's interesting, they've kicked it now away from 6th position there, and so as we have a look at that, Centrals are in 6th, and then there's a couple of games back to the rest of the pack. It seems like they might have. North Adelaide have got their mojo back. They're getting their players back. So they look like they're going to be good enough to make it. Port's the other team. And so Port and North play each other this week. Massive game. Whoever wins, you'd feel, has to make the finals. There's one team outside the 5 that I think can still jump in, and they are on the bottom of the table, and that is Norwood. Now, Norwood take on every single team above them over the next 5 weeks. So if they win all 5, they will jump into the top 5.
Jeez, wouldn't that be an unbelievable story just to make the finals from how they started? You can call that a premiership hangover and maybe a little bit more. Let's jump into our stat of the week. Let's talk about South Adelaide and their record at home at 2-6, and to put it simply, they can't score.
They cannot score. They're averaging less than 50 points a game at home this season. Their last 3 matchups they have played at home, this has been their score at three-quarter time. 1 goal 4 against Norwood, 2 goals 2 against Adelaide, and 2 goals 10 against North Adelaide. They haven't kicked more than 2 goals in the opening 3 quarters of footy in over 6 weeks at home. So that is an interesting stat. It's an incredible stat for a home team at Flinders Uni, where it's tough to play. You'd think they would have the advantage, but they are struggling down there.
All right, time now for our tips and predictions. Let's talk about round 13, and we'll get straight into it with what could be the game of the round. The Bay is taking on the Crows, of course. It's going to be at Glenelg at Stratorama Oval. Could this be the game where Glenelg genuinely get tested?
Well, it's probably the game of the year. Now, we built up the 10K at the Bay with Glenelg and Sturt, and we saw what happened there, 105 points. It certainly was an anticlimax, but the Crows are going as well as any other team in the comp has this year, bar Glenelg. So I think that it's going to be an incredible game. You can't pick against Glenelg at the moment. I'll go Glenelg. I'm interested to see where you go on a few of these because we obviously got 3 each last week with some different tips. So you have a 2-tip lead at the moment. Are you going to stick with Glenelg?
I think there's no reason on this planet right now that you could possibly use to tip against Glenelg.
Yeah.
Particularly at home as well. So you have to tip the Bay. They're just so red hot. And even on the weekend, there was moments where they looked a little bit flat and they still find a way to come out and in the end, pretty much pants Norwood.
Absolutely, they did. The one point I will make is the Crows pushed them to 2 points about 5 weeks ago at Glenelg. So no one has come anywhere near that bar Sturt in round 1 when they knocked off Glenelg. So it should be a good matchup. Speaking of this next one, West Adelaide at home against Centrals who haven't won away from home this season.
That's a huge stat.
It is a huge stat. Which way are you going to go on this one?
So based on that as well, I mean, the Bloods are very, very close to knocking off a big player. I know the Dogs are still ahead of them and they're not in the top 5, but yeah, I'm going to say the Bloods on this one, purely based on that fact that you just mentioned as well. The Dogs haven't had a good record away from home, and West Adelaide are on the cusp of doing something pretty special, I think. They're building really nicely for a club that's genuinely developing. And you feel like this could be a week, one of their good weeks, and no doubt Adam Hartlett's building up to this game.
Certainly is. I'm going to go with my gut as well and go West Adelaide with the form at home against Central's form away. I'm going to go with West Adelaide. Next game is at Alberton Oval, Port Adelaide taking on North Adelaide. This is a huge game, as we mentioned. Whoever wins this will be clear in 4th position on the table. Which way do you see this game going?
See, this will be interesting, very much dependent on AFL selection. So if Scott Lycett comes back in and all of a sudden Sam Hayes probably comes back out, of course, to play for Port Adelaide, and that means they could get an extra 40-odd hit-outs.
Yes.
But then at the same time, Trent McKenzie is going to miss, and Tom Jonas is probably going to go up as well. So they're a very, very good player, short down back. But what Sam Hayes gives them in the middle from a tap perspective is absolutely huge. So if he comes back in, I would say it's going to be Port Adelaide, but got to make a tip right now.
Yes.
So I'm going to go against that and just say that it's going to be North Adelaide because each and every time, I've been let down a lot this year, I just can't go past North Adelaide.
Okay, so North Adelaide there for Hazy. I think it's a line ball game. I'm going to go Port Adelaide. I need to try and pull 1 or 2 back here. I am hoping for a good team and selection. They played so well on the weekend without a lot of players in there. So Port Adelaide for mine. The Eagles take on Norwood at Team Care Oval here at home for the Eagles. Now, look, Norwood in some incredible form. We saw that against West Adelaide. It stacks up. The Eagles are really battling. Which way are you going to go?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Redlegs for this one, for obvious reasons as well. The Redlegs have definitely been building. They lost on the weekend, but it was to the mighty Glenelg, and no one's getting anywhere near the Bays at the minute. Eagles are in a bit of a rough spot. Some key players are missing on the weekend as well. The ground still going to be chopped up as well.
It is.
A little bit sloppy.
It is. I'm not sure who that was. So Norwood play some really good contested inside stuff as well. I think their form's too good, and I'm going to stick with you on this one. Sturt takes on South Adelaide at Wigan Oval. This is going to be an interesting game. Sturt's form has been patchy, to say the least. Yep. And we know that South has not been good at home, but they've been good away from home.
Yeah.
So they might even win this game. Which way would you like to go with this tip?
It's really interesting, isn't it? Because playing away probably suits South at the minute. But Sturt play Wigan Oval so well. It's such a fortress there. Look, I can't tip against Sturt, particularly when it's happening in Unley. So I'm going to go with the double blues.
I agree with that one. I think Sturt will look to get some solid form back. Their away form has been great of late, so they'll look to play well at home and will win this game. So as we go from that, it's time for Hazy's Multi, thanks to Top Sport.
All right, 3-leg multi. We're coming off a bit of form as well from the weekend.
We are coming off some great form. A huge win, hedged your tip and your multi, which was great, and it worked out for us.
Yeah,
so.
Who would have thought Port, North and Glenelg all had a win. So look, for safety reasons as well, who would have thought that I'm not going to have Glenelg as part of my multi, because if ever they're going to get pushed, it's against the second place side. So I'm going to leave them out. I am, however, for a bit of value for money, going to have West Adelaide as part of my multi. That's the first leg. So West Adelaide to beat the Dogs. Second one, I think this is a little bit safer. I don't mean to say this in front of you, but I've got the Red Legs to beat the Eagles.
Yep. On form, on exposed form, that makes sense. Yep.
And then just to finish it off as well, which I think you still will get some good value for money for this, I'll have Sturt to beat the Panthers.
Okay, so West Adelaide, Norwood and Sturt in this week's multi. Let's see if we can go back to back with the multi again, thanks to our sponsor, Top Sport. Enjoy the weekend of footy.